Welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways, Coyote in the Highlands. I probably will start posting back on Rumble again also, in addition to YouTube. I may find something else soon, but in the meantime, you're going to see it where you're going to see it. Today I am filming in the truck in the Highlands, right on the property, because we are having a windstorm. It's amusing to me that the National Weather Service gets their predictions for the area so badly wrong on such a consistent basis. If there's anything except 0 to 8 mile an hour winds in the weather forecast, they're wrong. You know they're wrong. So today was going to be a 8 to 12. 8 to 12 was what they were predicting. They had it marked as 10 to 20 because that's the closest for their little chart thing. But when you read it, it was 8 to 12, and then gusts as high as 16. And we are currently sitting at 22 to 34 with gusts as high as 38. That's what they're reporting. There's not a weather station right around here, but there's one a couple miles away, and it's pretty accurate. It's way too windy to do anything outside. So the walking around tour showing you the yurt and the temper tent and stuff just isn't going to happen today. Speaking of which, I'm looking behind me at what I can see. The yurt is doing fine. The yurt has handled the 45 and 50 mile an hour gusts in the past. It's a little hard when you have a situation like this. This is a week-long storm cycle. It's not a rain cycle, though, but it's a week-long storm cycle. So we're going to have pretty steady high winds until Thursday or Friday. Of course, the National Weather Service is wrong all the time, so that probably means Sunday. As I record this, the day of the week is Monday. I don't know when you're going to see it. I'm going to space out the uploads and stuff. And, well, it's really windy. The only problem I'm having with the yurt is that I can't adjust the covers and the straps very well. Nothing's fallen down, nothing wrong, but I'd like to get it reset and get everything straightened out. But I can't do that if the wind is very high because it's a lot of surface area. It's a 16.5 foot diameter. So the area of the cover, not counting the fact that it's a cone or that it has sides, is going to be what? Pi r squared? That's insane. It's a lot of square feet. I don't know. Let's look it up here or calculate it. So we're looking at, 250 square feet of material catching the wind. And when you've got 20 mile an hour winds, just 2 adults isn't going to make that any neater, and the tie down straps, that's a square harness with straps coming down that we couldn't get that back up if we wanted to. So we're not messing with it. It's still alive. It's still fine. I'm looking forward to showing you some footage of the yurt, and it's going to be it's a really good design for a shelter that's portable. This thing fits into 2 duffel bags and covers a huge amount of space. But again, with the wind levels that we have, it's not always the quietest thing around. And you do have to make adjustments to it. The temper tent, so a temper, T-E-M-P-E-R, tent is a military design. It replaced the GP series of tents. They had the GP medium, GP large, GP small, the tents. I really liked those. They didn't have floors. They didn't have a lot. They were very canvas. They were oriented around wooden poles, like pavilion style. And there's a lot to be said for those, even with super high wind environments, because you can do a lot with the poles. Also, the sides would roll up. You could make them into canopies more easily. The temper tent is much more of a solid thing. However, It's a 16 by 16, this version, square, made of aluminum internal frames. It has held up to everything we've thrown at it, all of the storms, and it's absolutely fantastic as far as rigidity and sturdiness goes. It's very noisy. It flops insanely in the wind. But it holds up. It holds up really well. The rubberized canvas that the military uses holds up very well. It's surplus, so it's got some seam damage and some sun damage to some of the cotton ties, and some of the ropes are rotting out. So I've had to replace some of the guy ropes. But it's really good. If you can get a temper tent for a reasonable price, we paid $500 for ours. And it's been up for just over a year, and it's right there, and it's doing great. If you can find one for a reasonable price, they're very worth it. With all new pieces and all reconditioned and everything, they're $3,000 tents, and there's usually the bigger ones. That's usually going to be something more like the 20 by 32. There's a reason for it. They're really good. They're really sturdy. When the cover on this one starts to really give way, I'm probably going to make use of the frame to build a cabin, because the aluminum frame is just insanely great, and it's already got slightly sloped sides. So, I mean, 16-foot lumber is insanely expensive also, but if I go over to Snowflake or Flagstaff or somewhere, I can probably get some chainsaw mill slabs that are 16 feet long, and I could probably do some siding on it and do some roof work on it and make it work out pretty well. You know, the frame itself is sturdy enough and can handle the weight. So I like it. Something to look at in the future. Expect a video on that and the yurt. The outdoor kitchen is doing well. I've got a couple of the vertical posts for the roof set. I haven't done a whole lot of work today because it's just so insanely windy. It's actually hard to see, even with regular safety glasses. This is goggle weather. And honestly, I don't have any surplus goggles right now. So if anyone wants to send me any, contact me. It's kind of nuts out here. The outdoor kitchen's coming along. It's doing really well as far as getting the posts up. Everything's staying up in the wind. You know, it's cinder block. It's dry stack, and it's not filled yet. So I've got the two corners filled with the first two posts, and I've got a couple more posts in there ready for the concrete. And within the next couple of days, week, it should be pretty solid, and I should be able to hang some shade cloth off of the posts. The beams, the 12-foot beams, are not going up until I've got all the posts set and at least 36 hours of cure on the last ones as far as concrete time goes. Preferably, you know, longer, and honestly, the way distractions pile up around here, it's probably going to be longer. The internal cabinets, actually I may go, when I'm done with this, I may go start working on the cinder block for the internal cabinets and counters, because that's going to be dry stack also. It's all going to be tied in together. The bathroom project, which you have not seen, the Twitter people have seen it, several iterations, so that's mortared cinder block, not a dry stack. And I don't know what to say. I don't want to say 6 to 1, half dozen to the other. A mortar is a sturdier... It's sturdier before you do all the stucco and the fill and the reinforcement and everything, but in the end, for our purposes at our sizes, they're probably pretty similar. The mortar definitely takes a lot longer to do. You know, I can slap the bonding stucco on the dry stack a lot faster than I can just run the mortar on the cinder block. At the same time, I'm not actually trained in any of that, and I'm sure that I could go at 3 times the speed I do if I could figure out how to use the trowel properly. You know, just the way it lays, because they're hollow block. So I can lay brick pretty well, but hollow block just really messes with how I can lay down the mortar. You know, because you're laying down figure eights, basically, square figure eights instead of slabs. And I may, well, we'll see. You know, depending on material cost, I may end up going back to some mortared brick for some of what's going on in the compound. We'll talk about the compound more in the future. There's going to be a lot of earth bag going on here. The bathroom, though, has the sunward facing walls are filled with just compacted dirt, so all of the hollow cells, and it definitely makes a difference. It's got thermal mass, so it doesn't prevent all heat transfer from baking in the sun all day, but it really slows it down. It really keeps it stable, kind of a gentler thing, and then it releases some of the heat at night. And when the lows are in the 70s, that's probably going to be less fun. But this is a single wall bathroom. It's actually an outhouse. It's a brick shithouse, literally, with plumbing. So it's a flush toilet going into the septic, and it works pretty well. And I do like the thermal mass transfer, the way it's working. Obviously, if they were thicker blocks, like if my budget was looking at doing the 12 by 16 instead of the 8 by 16 blocks, that would help some, you know, if I double layered it, or if I just put a row of earth bags around later on the main sunward sides, that would help a lot too. That would stabilize the temperature a lot. So we'll see how that goes. That's it for the updates right now. This is turning into a long video. It's a stormy day, and that's some information for you. We'll try to do something more useful soon. Stay sideways.